There's a number sitting inside your retirement plan right now that no calculator ever shows you, and it could cost you more than your mortgage did.
Here's the setup nobody explains properly. You've probably been told the finish line is 65. That's when Medicare kicks in. That's when the math finally works.
But most people don't cross that finish line on their own terms. According to the Employee Benefit Research Institute's 2026 survey, workers expect to retire at a median age of 65.
Retirees, meanwhile, report a median actual retirement age of 62, and nearly half said they left earlier than they'd planned.
3 years, that gap is where this story lives, and it's more expensive than almost anyone realizes.
So what actually happens in those 3 years? Let's follow someone through it. I'll call him Owen.
59 years old, works in logistics, has a decent 401k, and has always pictured 65 as his exit ramp. Then his company restructures. Owen isn't fired exactly, his role is consolidated, and the severance package nudges him toward an early goodbye. Suddenly, Owen isn't retiring on his terms. He's retiring on the calendar's terms, and the first thing he discovers has nothing to do with his 401k balance at all.
It's health insurance. Because Medicare doesn't care that Owen planned for 65, it only shows up when the calendar actually hits 65, not a day sooner.
For the stretch in between, Owen has to buy coverage on the ACA marketplace, and this is where the story gets genuinely brutal for 2026 specifically, not hypothetically.
The enhanced subsidies that had kept marketplace premiums affordable since 2021 lapsed at the end of 2025, and subsidized enrollees are now paying roughly 114% more for the same coverage on average.
Isn't that the opposite of what you'd want right when you've lost your paycheck?
For people like O, and older adults with incomes just above 400% of the federal poverty line, the increase lands especially hard because they lose eligibility for any subsidy assistance at all.
A 60-year-old earning around $55,000 can watch premiums jump from a few $100s a month to well over $1,000.
Run that out over 3 years, and you're not looking at a bruise. You're looking at a fracture in the plan.
Here's a rhetorical question worth sitting with. If your entire retirement calculator assumes you walk straight from your last paycheck into Medicare, what happens to the plan-the-moment reality?
Inserts 3 extra years in between. And it's not only the people who get pushed out early who feel this.
Even the ones who retire on schedule at 65 are staring at a bill most of them didn't budget for.
Fidelity's newest estimate puts average lifetime healthcare costs for a 65-year-old retiring in 2026 at $185,500 and $371,000 for a couple, a figure that's climbed 5% just this year alone.
Faster than the increases in either of the 2 years before it. That number covers Medicare costs.
It doesn't touch the pre-Medicare gap at all. It's a second bill stacked on top of the first one. Let's bring in a second thread here, someone I'll call Priya.
50 for self-employed, disciplined saver, the type of person who actually opens her statements.
Priya's plan already accounts for retiring at 65.
What it doesn't account for is what happens if her husband's health forces an earlier exit for both of them. Because retirement decisions rarely happen to just one person in a household. That's the blind spot. Most plans model the saver's choices, not the shocks that arrive from someone else's body, someone else's employer, someone else's timeline.
Doesn't that change how you'd stress test your own numbers? So here's the actual shape of the 3-year gap broken into what it really costs. First, the premium spike itself.
With subsidies gone for households above the income cliff, a 60-year-old's monthly premium can move from a few $100s to over $1,000 almost overnight, and that's before a single
doctor's visit. Second, the coverage you're buying isn't even the finish line.
It's a bridge to Medicare, and once you arrive at Medicare, a Milliman analysis puts a healthy 65-year Old couples remaining lifetime health care spending as high as $637,000, depending on the plan.
Type they choose, the bridge doesn't replace the destination cost, it adds to it.
Third, and this is the one almost nobody prices in, every dollar spent on emergency premiums in your late 50s and early 60s is a dollar that isn't compounding in your portfolio during what would otherwise be some of its highest growth years. The gap doesn't ask permission. It just shows up early and sends the bill.
Now, here's where I want to push back on the doom for a second, because panic isn't a plan either.
Fidelity's own research notes that 54% of people approaching retirement mistakenly assume Medicare will cover everything, which tells you the real problem for most people isn't stupidity. It's a
blind spot nobody warned them about. That's fixable. So what does fixing it actually look like? 3 moves, and none of them require a finance degree. Move 1. Price your coverage at 62, not 65. Before you lock in any retirement date, get an actual marketplace quote for your zip code and income at the earliest plausible exit age.
Not an estimate from a blog, an actual number. That single step turns an abstract worry into a line item you can plan around.
Move 2. Build a bridge account that's separate from your retirement accounts.
This isn't about hitting a magic total. It's about having liquid money that exists specifically to absorb 3-ish years of marketplace premiums without forcing an early, penalized withdrawal from
Your 401k. Even a modest, steady contribution to this account changes what happens if your exit date isn't chosen by you. Move 3, run your numbers twice, once assuming you retire at your target age, and once assuming something forces your hand 3 to 5 years earlier. The 2026 Every Data shows retirees who left earlier than planned overwhelmingly didn't choose the timing. Health and caregiving disruptions pulled them out before the spreadsheet said they were
ready. If your plan only survives the version where nothing goes wrong, it isn't actually a plan yet. It's a hope with a spreadsheet attached. A plan that only works if nothing goes wrong was never really a plan.
Let's close the loop on Owen and Priya.
Owen ended up taking part-time consulting work for 18 months, specifically to stay under the income threshold where marketplace subsidies still applied to him, not because the job paid great, but because it protected his premium math more than any single investment decision could have. Priya didn't overhaul her whole strategy either.
She opened one new account, funded it modestly, and for the first time actually knew her number instead of guessing at it.
Neither of them solved the problem by becoming a different kind of person. They solved it by finally looking directly at the 3 years nobody had warned them about.
Here's what I want you to actually do this week, not someday.
Look up an ACA marketplace quote for your zip code at your real income, priced for the age you might actually retire, not the age you're hoping for.
Write that monthly number down. That's the real fuel gauge, and it's the one almost nobody checks before takeoff.
If this kind of breakdown is useful to you, hit like. It's the single biggest signal that tells the algorithm to keep showing winds of thought to people who need to hear this before they hit them.
Own gap, not after.
And if you've already lived through an early, unplanned exit from work, I want to hear how you covered the healthcare gap. Drop it in the comments, because someone reading 3 years from now is
going to need exactly your answer. The exit you plan for and the exit you get are rarely the same age.
Check your number, then check it again for 62. The difference between those two numbers